the absence of my dad when I was younger must have had a bigger effect on me than I thought. Luke passed away, and my mum had passed away as well. When you have that much emotion, like, you can either do something with it or not. But I was doing crazy stuff. Probably that would break me now. Listen, we all get a moment to shine, and it might not last forever, so when you do get it, just make the most of it, I suppose. I had a prep that kind of sucked away most of the majority of my life. I still believe there's wins in me. I still believe that I can do very well, and I just find it hard to be positive sometimes. That's the thing that I struggle with most guys, is that I know what positive is, and I care about being positive, and I'll always lift anyone else up. Like, anyone that's around me, my good friends, I'm picking you up, I'm gonna pick you up. I just sometimes can't find my own answers.
Right guys, welcome back to the channel and another episode of the Pro Series, episode number 9 if I believe. And I am here with arguably, this is going to be probably my hardest introduction, bud, because there is so much to say. Yeah, James Hollingshead, ladies and gentlemen, but for me, you know, James represents everything that is right about bodybuilding. He got into the sport slightly before me. His rise to the top was true, and that's one thing I think about yourself that I love, is the true relentless nature of your journey. Like I said, this intro is never going to do justice in my opinion, mate, because there's so many positive things. Like, you're an icon, you're an idol, you're a friend, you're a great man, you're a fantastic bodybuilder. And before we get too gushy, I'm just going to get stuck straight
That's
into
what I'm looking at the floor, right? This is too nice.
It's so true, and I think, you know, this for me, I've been lucky to do several of these now, but I think the scope of your audience, and like everyone feels the same. Like, whenever I talk to see people about you, it's always, you know, in such a positive way, and the impact you have on people, well, I don't think you quite realise, but that is a great way, and that's part of, I think, the attraction to yourself. So yeah, thank you anyway, mate, for being here. We had a great session. We did a really good push session, intense. James covered some of his kind of thoughts on training through that, and now I get to pick his brains and kind of ask him a few questions about your journey, kind of some of the highs, some of the lows, without going through it all, because obviously do you know how many shows you've done in total?
40 something, I think, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, and when was your first show?
2008.
Okay, so 2 years prior to me. And then you won your pro card in
2017.
Yeah. And that was a fight, wasn't it? Because there were several close runs. I know that was...
Yeah, 2014 I actually won the super heavyweights and lost the overall to Nathan Diasha, which he went on to have probably one of the best career. He's done all right, so 12 pro shows deep.
Yeah.
And then I just had a couple of years where, to be fair, I wasn't at my best, but it was good because it made me realise I wanted it. So yeah, 2017 was the overall. So I actually got 3 British titles, luckily. So I got the junior one.
Yeah.
So they're actually nicer trophies than I've got from anything else. So I'm kind of happy to have them.
The old school bodybuilding trophies, bring those back.
Yeah.
It's the figurines.
Oh, mate, they're so good.
I've got another one.
Like
It's my absolute favourites.
So
so obviously James has a fantastic, long career. So I'm not going to bore you or everyone who probably knows a lot about it anyway, going through things. But highlights, we'll go for those.
Yeah, there's a lot of highlights.
Okay, good. Yeah,
hit
me with a few. Hit me with the ones that come to the top of your head.
Strictly like within
the kind of bodybuilding, competing, I suppose.
Yeah, if it's like within competing itself, obviously. To be fair, there's been some shows which weren't necessarily a win that felt like a win. When you're a professional bodybuilder and you're coming up, you set yourself goals. Yeah. And I remember like my first top 6 was like a really big deal for me.
Yeah.
It was Prague 2019.
Okay.
And I came away from that show just knowing that I was in the picture with the rest of the boys and our checks.
That sense of belonging, like.
Yeah, I was like, I think it's kind of like what Dorian said. Dorian was like, if I can't place something, I don't know if I'm meant for this kind of thing. And I suppose the Prague show was kind of that for me. Even though I had done shows prior, that show for me was the one where it was like, okay, I think it's worth me continuing doing this.
Yeah.
And so that's one. The following year, I managed to get 3rd at the Big Man show, and that was a big deal for me because I was against Rafa.
Okay.
I was against SM Obeid. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
I was against Josh Lenartowicz and Akim Williams.
Fucking hell.
So, and I got 3rd. I got beat by Josh and Akim. And I'm fans of Rafa. I'm a fan of SM. Like, he was on the front cover of MD. He was a big deal. Most of you probably don't know who he is, but he was a really good bodybuilder, like one of the original kind of Oxygen gym guys.
Yeah.
So that third again, that felt like a win for me. And then obviously my first win as a pro was in Europa, and that was a stacked show.
Yeah.
Like that show for me was, I was so surprised I won that. So yeah, at the time that was kind of crazy, and that was off the back of, you know, quite a hard time regarding life, regarding, I suppose you had Luke passed away. Yeah. And my mum had passed away as well, so it's kind of like, okay.
What year was that? 2020.
2020. Yeah. So it was just my way of like saying, it was like, you just don't crumble. Yeah. Just don't crumble.
Because like I did want to, like, while we mentioned obviously those two people who are part of your life, like, who was it? Did your mum pass away first?
No, my mum did pass away first. Sorry, I do get confused. It's crazy how one thing about death is very strange. Because it kind of, unfortunately, you do forget things. Yeah. But yeah, my mum passed away first, and then Luke was very much my good friend, and spent a lot of time with me after the fact. Yeah. And that was, I think that's why me and Luke kind of bonded quite well, because he was kind of there for me as a friend.
Yeah. No, because I was not as close to Luke as you, but like, I still think of him
all the time.
Fucking much.
All the time.
And I know the training period you guys had together was just like iconic. I think everyone loved that. Everyone got behind that, and like seeing you guys, because you were very, like, you were both fucking strong.
Yeah.
And you know, especially like listening and being with you today in your training, like just that uncomplicated approach of getting after it.
For sure.
Like
the funny thing with that time period, I'll say this. I will say it probably wasn't the best training.
Okay.
But it was the best. It had
so much training with Luke.
Yeah, it was. There was much more purpose to it than that.
Yeah.
Luke at the time needed a friend as well, and I was the friend that I wanted to be, and I needed a friend.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we got out of it was more personal.
Yeah.
And we actually I think we just enjoyed each other's company and talking a lot of shit.
Yeah.
So
our
training sessions might take way longer than they were meant to, because the fact that we just wanted to be able to breathe and have a good time. And yeah, of course we trained hard, but the friendship that came from that trumped the training. Yeah. Like, because a lot of people watching it, that must have been like the most epic time of training. Yeah. It was in a respect, but it was also far deeper than that.
In other ways.
Yeah, in better ways.
How do you, like, so you mentioned the Europa show, like, how did you deal with it, like, when Luke passed?
I got very sad and very angry, man. I remember, like, I was in the gym one day because it was lockdown, actually.
Yeah.
And I had access to the gym just because I was obviously running the place at the time, and I was training. And I just remember, like, I was like, I'm not the guy to kind of do it, but I had to film a message. Right. And I filmed my emotions, and I was so full of emotion at that time. And I think when you have that much emotion, it's this old cheesy saying, like, you can either do something with it or not. And I just took it into the sessions. I was doing crazy stuff, like, probably that would break me now, like physically. But at the time, I was obviously young enough and robust enough to be able to take on what I was putting myself under. I don't know if I could repeat that. I've said this before, like that amount of like emotion and that amount of, almost without trying to be like, but it was a lot of sadness.
Yeah, mate.
And
I think so many people felt
I don't think you can take that on too many times, but I took it on and managed to do something with it. Doesn't mean it's gone. But it was certainly a fuel.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's admirable.
And I'll tell you what, the most important thing was me. I was kind of felt obliged to see the job done, because I was kind of like, you know, me and Luke discussed before his passing, like, he's like, oh, James, you'll be at the Olympia. And he said it like it was blasé. And I'm like, I never believed in it. I'm like, nah, it's not going to be, because I just couldn't see it. And obviously when he was in Inham, I was like, man, he said that you can, so just do it. And I got a picture in my room. I got like a portrait of Luke, someone done, a really nice one. And I would like, kind of like talk to it during the process. I'd say, look, I'm going to try my best, kind of thing. So it was without like going on too long in the video, as you get older, the only thing I can say is just like, nothing's forever, and hold close things that matter, but at the same time, take on board when people believe in you, because there's a lot of people that don't believe in you, but they're not the people that were important to you. So, for example, someone like Luke saying you're able to do it should outweigh a fleet of people saying you can't. So just use it as a positive energy, man.
And you did it, mate. You fucking did it in that Europa show. And then the Olympia that year.
So the Olympia was the following year actually, because what I had to do, because there was the lockdown, I qualified for both, because the Europa was the qualifier for 2020, and then I did the British Grand Prix, which was qualifier for 2021. But I couldn't get to the Olympia the first year.
Yeah.
Second year I had to go to
was
the
British one, the one that was really last minute, like the one that left
it was me.
All of a sudden they were like, shit, we're going
me,
back
Regan,
into lockdown.
Jamie, Mark. That was like, yeah. And it was a rematch of me and Regan, really, because Regan was at the show before.
Right.
And he was good at the show actually. He was really good, but luckily I managed to pip him. So yeah, that was a cool little show. It's weird because I used to be so confident. Samson was in that show.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like I was so confident back then. Like I remember seeing Samson like before the show, and he's Mr. Olympia now. And I'd like walk over to him, and I felt like the big dog. And I was so confident. Even with like Jamie. Jamie's my bro, but I was like, everyone else is coming like after me tomorrow. I was so confident that I was going to win. It's so weird when you feel like that because I can't.
Because that's not like you're as a person. That's
it's not
you,
like me as a person.
Like day to day, is it?
It's not like me as a person day to day, but also to think like where, let's say, like someone like Samson is now.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, whoa, man! I used to like. It was almost like at that show. I go over to Samson, and be like, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like Arnold and fucking Louis. It was weird. And then obviously Samson's come on leaps and bounds.
Yeah,
but
he just took off.
Yeah, you got to take your moments. Listen, we all get a moment to shine, and it might not last forever. So when you do get it, just make the most of it, I suppose.
And then in terms of, like we spoke a little bit, I don't know if it was on camera or off camera, about kind of where your head's at now. Or like there is.
Yeah, I struggle right now.
There's a bit of self-doubt.
Self-doubt.
Say.
I will say this. I think because you know, like I was saying, how like Luke and my mum was fuel.
Yeah.
What became really, really difficult and hard to kind of work out was what is my fuel now.
Right. What's the why behind?
My why, man. Because as you get older, you get more aware of vitality.
Yeah.
You get more aware of time left. You have more responsibilities, so you've got more things in your mind telling you that you shouldn't than things saying you should. Yeah. And of course, like when you've got fresh energy from something tragic, that noise covers everything. I haven't got any noise at the minute, and I love bodybuilding. I want to be the best bodybuilder I can, and I said to myself in 2022, if I can't bodybuild how I want to, then and win a show and get ready for the Olympia, then I won't do it anymore. Luckily, that year I won the Tsunami off my own philosophies, and that kind of made me stay in bodybuilding because I was at the point where I was going to call it a day.
Right.
Because I was like, if I can't enjoy this process and if I can't do it the way that I think is best, which won't kill me, you know. So right now I'm kind of just trying to find myself I'm trying to find myself back to that point. I think a little bit. It's almost like a recycle. Like Yannicka said it to me loads of times. She's like, you know yourself. Obviously I've got a baby on the way now, like 4 weeks time, which is a motivation. In many ways, it's a motivation to do better, but it's also a motivation to stay alive. And I'm not saying bodybuilding kills you. I'm not saying that. No. But there are risks. And the longer you do something for, the more you're at risk. So I'm just trying to be sensible, really. But I still believe there's wins in me. I still believe that I can do very well. And the confidence issue that I'm having right now is partly to do with me not dealing with certain levels of, I would say, like I said to you earlier, probably depression that I just never really dealt with because I've always clouded everything, swept everything under the rug and put just bodybuild to cover the noise. Because bodybuilding was always like the way to just like feel something now and prevent everything else from penetrating the brain.
Yeah,
you know? But then you find yourself in spaces in between. When you're in spaces in between, the things come out. And then you start to realize, okay, there is some things probably I need to kind of figure out. But I still train every day, like you see.
The thing is, when we've been doing it for this long, like bodybuilding is, you can't not do it.
You can't not do it. And the thing is, my worst day is still 95%.
Yeah.
So there is a part of me that inside's like, you're still very capable. But that's where I'm at right now, I suppose.
And you are like, I know you don't necessarily see it, and like we spoke about kind of maybe one of the shows recently not being anywhere near what you wanted, but like you are getting better. Like I think the tricky thing is, when you're at your level, when you're against the guys you're at, and everyone is improving and new people are coming up, placings in shows, it's very hard to use that as an indicator.
For sure, because it's not a self-comparison, is it?
Yeah.
Like you say, if a lineup's got 5 Olympians in it and you come 6th, it's very easy for an audience to say, oh, you're shit. But it's in actual fact, who are you getting beat by? Because that's kind of what I felt with Detroit. Like, you know, Detroit was a good show. It was like a little bit of a redemption arc for me. I got beat by 2 extremely good Olympians. And I was like, well, there was 15 people in that lineup that are very good and I respect all of them. And I managed to beat the majority.
Yeah.
So that's all you can do with bodybuilding. It's like, you have to obviously put a lot of pressure on yourself. But you also have to be very realistic with what you've just been able to do. And what
that's one thing I really like about you. Like, there are certain bodybuilders who very much talk, a big game and have that level of confidence. Sometimes, sometimes placed, sometimes misplaced. But I've always been a realist. I've always known, and again, people will read into it being, oh, you're being negative, you're being, self-critical. But there's nothing wrong with, like you said, you going into a lineup and knowing, fuck, there are 5 guys who, on their given day, could be better than me.
For sure.
And, in terms of previous placings and whatnot.
Yeah.
And that's the whole, the beauty of bodybuilding for me is always and it's very hard. It's the higher you get up, the harder it is to see is that self-comparison and being right,
sure.
That Detroit James, one of my favourite looks in terms of, the overall package. And I think that you should certainly take that moving forwards in terms of well, if I can do that off the back of, what is effectively a pretty rough prep.
Oh, it's a bit of a shit show.
Yeah.
I had a prep that kind of sucked away most of the majority of my life.
Yeah.
And then we had about 4 weeks where just nutrition, I threw everything back into the body, and I was like, let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
And
you came out with it.
Yeah, and there was a difference between there's a 20-something pound difference, and the condition was the same.
Pretty much, yeah. Exactly.
I was just so under there, at the Arnold, and the Arnold's annoying because the Arnold's such a big show, a lot of eyes are on it.
Yeah.
So of course, even if you don't place the best, you do just want to bring a look that's decent.
Yeah.
So that when you don't, you're kind of oh fuck. So I was kind of oh shit. But we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. I wonder if I can even get back to the Arnold. I'd like to win another show, and then reapply and obviously go back to the Arnold again.
Yeah.
Because.
Are we talking about potential shows this year?
I haven't really dude. I haven't really got anything in mind as such. Because again, 4 weeks to baby is born. I'm dieting a little bit at the moment because I said to you, I hit a kind of a wall with appetite and exceeding the amount of food I could fucking take in.
Yeah.
It just hit a wall. I was like, well, if my digestion's saying fuck off, then nothing's going to follow in a positive light. Yeah. So again, trying to use my instinct that I've been talking to you about all along, listening to myself. My head says most of the day, okay, it's okay, you can scale back a little bit.
The thing is, you're 302 pounds at the minute. Sure, you were 310, but
310 of.
If you can hold 300 and get that appetite back, we've just seen you pose. Exactly. Yeah, you've got a little bit of intra-workout bloat, but feathering in the quads, lines through the delts, through the chest. It's freaky in person. Again, I think you said this in one of maybe your podcast with Joe. The 2D pictures don't do you fucking justice. In terms of that density.
Yeah, because I'm not I don't occupy the most space as such. I'm not the widest guy. So some physiques you do have to see in person. And I'm one of those for sure.
Yeah,
which everyone says, but I am one of those.
What did I want to ask out of these? This is quite an interesting one if you've got an answer for. Within bodybuilding, who do you look up to? Have you got any kind of, not necessarily inspirations, but just people who I suppose you admire and who have, I suppose.
There's admiration for a lot of people. And then the further you climb, the more you see yourself not dropping admiration. You don't drop admiration by any means, but your mindset changes to a point where you do have to almost start to admire yourself in order to stay afloat up top.
Right.
And I'm not saying that in a way that's neglect all the previous idols you have or anything like that, but just you come to realize that they were once mortal as well.
Yeah.
And they tell you that. So it's not me doing it to myself, it's that I've hung around with a lot of my idols. And a lot of my idols say be more confident, say be this way, say be that way, be more aggressive, have more fight in your heart. And then you realize that, I suppose you just realize we're all human at the end of days. But I got loads of admiration for a lot of people and what they've done. Evan Senapani, he's one of my, probably one of the people I kind of look up to in many respects. But more so with someone like Evan, it's more I just think he's such a good person.
Yeah.
And I have that.
The way you go about it.
Yeah, just decent. The more I've climbed up the bodybuilding, the less I have admiration for bodybuilders for being bodybuilders.
Yeah.
I have more admiration for the people that are behind the bodybuilder. So again, with Jay, I've always had really good conversations, and Jay's always put a lot of time aside. The fact that he even like knows my name and says hello whenever he's around.
That's fucking cool.
It's wild. Like I've gone from being the kid in the gym who didn't really know who Ronnie Coleman was to watching the Relentless DVD and looking at Jay Cutler rip to shreds, and then being able to call Jay and say and have conversations.
Just
like, I know it's a bit wild. It's a bit weird.
Yeah.
And I'm not on their level at all. But it's just crazy how accepting these people are. So I have admiration for that as well. Admiration for the fact that people allow you in their space.
You say that though, like, that's how a lot of people feel about you. And I know that you're, you know, very, like, giving with your time. For a start, you've done this for me. But like, I know you spend a lot of time on like, you know, like YouTube and your Twitch and stuff, like speaking to people who are probably in a very similar boat to like where you were. And be like, fucking hell, I'm talking to James here.
I'll be real.
Like,
you know, one thing, my most comfortable space and the people I like talking to most outside of my like closest is the people that I talk to like on the Twitch and the YouTube while I'm streaming.
Yeah.
Because they're such a not innocent. Some of them are devils, but they're such a authentic crowd.
Yeah.
They say things, they come in, they watch you play, and they talk to you about other things in life and bodybuilding, whatever it may be. And they're very clear that they're like, we're not watching you because you've done this or that in bodybuilding. We're watching you right now because we'd like to talk to you and we think you're a good person.
Yeah.
That shit hits, that's just like, like, that means more to me than anything. Like, there is a fire in me, like, I do want to be the best bodybuilder. There's not a lack of that at all. But I also want people to do what I'm doing by seeing people how I'm seeing people. Like I said to you there, I don't admire Jay Cutler because of the Jay Cutler, the bodybuilder, really. I admire the Jay Cutler because when I'm in the same room as him, he's taken time out to fucking talk to me and give me the time of day. And that's the person I try to be. I try to be the person that gives the time of day because I don't see any of us as better than anyone else.
I think that's such an important message because, like, yeah, I always try like that first impression thing. Like, you know, if you make a good first impression on someone, they'll remember that. If you make a bad first impression, they'll remember that and they'll tell people about it as well.
For sure.
And it makes such a difference. I think as bigger guys, there's a stereotype as well, and it's nice when
for sure
people break that. And
ultimately, what this all comes down to is like when you go to sleep at night, guys, do you feel good about the person you were that day?
Yeah.
Like, I know whenever I do something that I consider not even charitable, but like if I offer some time or if I offer some help, I just feel better.
Yeah.
And I don't need nothing in return. It could be something as simple as like when I'm in the supermarket, there's an old man in the line, I'm like, oh, just go in front of me, it's cool. Do you want me to help lift your stuff up onto the thing? Yeah. Those kind of actions, man, like that's the shit that hit that for me, that as I've got older, that becomes more and more important every day because, again, odd getting older and having a kid and stuff because you do start to think about not the end of your life, but you do think about how do you want to spend the rest of your life. Yeah. So those things become more important about how you come across because you actually care about what you're leaving behind and what's the impression that you left. Because impression for me is really important because I do care and I don't want to be a bad person.
Yeah. No, I care massively about what people think. And I know people are like, oh, you shouldn't. But then I think if you do care, you make an effort
if everyone
to be
cared,
better.
It's that song Nickelback, If Everyone Cared.
Yeah,
listen, if everyone cared a little bit about those kind of things, then there would never be any issues in the world and everyone would be happy.
Yeah.
And if you can do your little bit and make your little bit of the world positive and big in that way, then so be it. And it has a good effect on other people. Yeah. You know, you've got a missus, it keeps your missus happy. If you've got family and friends, it keeps them somewhat happy because everyone feels down sometimes. So if you can remain a good person around them, you're likely to keep them in a better mood as well. So everything's just about like relationships and how the energy's in people, to be fair, for me in life. And the bodybuilding is just another construct of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Most of these things that are applied in the bodybuilding apply to like real life. Yeah. You know, I go in the gym, you can still have manners. Yeah. You can still share. You can still work in with other people.
Yeah. And make their day as well.
For sure.
You know, if someone's training and you come along and they'll probably tell them, hey, it's fucking training James earlier. Like, you are extremely positive in terms of, like you said, all the stuff that you want to be a good person. And again, I don't, if this is too deep or too personal, like with regards to like how you feel like the depression you mentioned. Like, what do you feel like is the cause of that?
Oh man, I think most things stem from your childhood.
Okay.
Like the only really thing I can kind of try to really put my finger on is that the absence of my dad when I was younger must have had a bigger effect on me than I thought. Because obviously I used it as an energy for a long time to bodybuild and stuff, because I was like, well, you know what, there's no man in the house.
Yeah.
I'll become the man. And my impression and my interpretation of a man when I was young was be strong.
Yeah.
So my bodybuilding was sparked off the back of feeling the need to be physically strong in the household so that my mother had someone to support her in that respect.
To protect, yeah.
Yeah, so then obviously weigh that on a child, yeah, who feels that that's what you have to do. And then the depression got worse because my mum died.
Yeah.
Like, because I only had her love, and loads of people will relate to this. So when the only person's love you had is gone, you feel very hollow.
Yeah.
And then I think that's why I make such an effort to give love, because I don't want anyone to feel hollow.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I can feel it, like, you know, and I'm happy to put this on camera because I didn't even really think about that myself. Yeah, it's just a hollowness. And this is cool, I like to leave this shit in. I haven't been able to feel that.
Yeah.
But that gap, that hollowness, like, even this morning, I walked in the garden actually this morning, and I was shaving my shoulders of all things, and I walked over to I got like a mirror in the garden, and I was like, I just had a quick second of myself, my thought in my head, and it was just, Mum's not here.
Yeah.
And the realization I'm going to be a dad and like, all this kind of stuff, and I was like, it sucks. But then I have to also, then as a person, as a strong person, look at the opportunity you have. Yeah. Because now you have the opportunity to be a father, which you didn't have. Yeah. And Yannika's there to be the mother that you know how important they are and you know how special yours was to you. Yeah. So just try and be positive. I just find it hard to be positive sometimes. That's the thing that I struggle with most, guys, is that I know what positive is and I care about being positive, and I'll always lift anyone else up. Like anyone that's around me, my good friends, I'm picking you up, I'm gonna pick you up. I just sometimes can't find my own answers.
It's hard, honestly, it's hard to hear you talk about, because I know, like, we've been friends for how many years, and I've followed you for even longer. Like, and I wish you could see, there's so, like, I'm sure everyone watching this right now is like, fuck, I wish I could give a bit. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing with.
But people do give a bit.
Yeah, but
it's
accepting it. It's making a difference.
The support I have from people is the reason I still compete.
Yeah.
Because I said this before as well. Like, obviously, no one's love's ever going to be equal to someone that was your mother or whatever. Yeah. But everyone's love accumulated, like all the people that support me accumulated, is a big deal. Yeah. And it is a big reason. And it is really why I still do what I do, if I'm honest. Yeah. Because I feel like I have a responsibility to do well for the people that supported me, knowing that I hurt. Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at. And sometimes it gets too much. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I feel like I've let too many people in because I am the way I am, because I'm caring. So therefore I reach out and I put myself out there.
Energies.
Yeah, and then sometimes I'm like,
don't deserve it.
Yeah, but also then I'm like, oh, too many people have access to me personally.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I don't have anywhere to retreat to be silent. Because I've got obligations with sponsors or bodybuilding. Everyone's watching. What show's next? What's this next? And this is just me being real. Like, it's sometimes like I just wish the sound was gone. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I've never been suicidal. I've never been suicidal at all. But we still don't know, like, for example, Luke, whether it was whatever or whatever. But in my head, I was like, I do kind of get when people feel like they just want to see nothing and hear nothing.
Want a break.
Yeah, and some people don't know the answer to that shit, but like, I'm a stubborn person. I do appreciate life, and I appreciate everything I've got, and I care about a lot of people, so I'll never be that way. I'll never go that way, but I do understand. So if there is anyone like watching this that does feel that way, it is understandable. But yeah. I'm an example of the, I suppose I'm an example of the,
you can make things.
You can still
work, but you can still succeed. You can still.
Yeah, man. Fuck. That's like again. That's what progress. The bodybuilding. That's what the shows are. Just a small part of like what shows you that you can win shit. Or as fickle as that is, you can still win a pro bodybuilding show and qualify for the Olympia off the back of having the biggest tragedy in your life. Yeah. If you just wish to channel and try, you just have to try, because if you don't try, you just wallow and you just become nothing. And there's no point doing that to yourself, because everyone deserves more than that. And
I think, it's that, when you're up against a big obstacle or event or whatever it is, it's like, what do you do something or do nothing?
yeah, and there's no point doing doing nothing.
It doesn't even matter if that something is, suboptimal, 5%, 10%. It's fucking more than
even to the point where it's such a small thing like as getting yourself out of the house and going for a fucking coffee.
Yeah.
Like, I know this is kind of like a different subject, but it's still very important.
No, but like,
it's so important.
You've been very open with things, so it's good to hear.
But also know that a lot of people in bodybuilding particularly feel this way, and I contribute that to the experiences many of us had which got us in the gym.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people enter the gym through bad experience or from something that was hurtful. But then I do have to be very honest, and I do believe that the presence of what we take also has a contributing factor to actually multiplying a lot of the stresses we have, because we start to feel ways that we wouldn't have felt without their influence.
Yeah.
So I'm very open about like anabolics
it's
and
an
whatnot.
important consideration.
Consider that if you already have something troubling you, that things can become a little bit more heavy if, let's say, you're under the influence of certain things that can allow
exposure and long-term exposure as well.
So just be
I
smart.
noticed that towards the back end of my, I suppose, I say competing just because you use more in that period.
For sure.
But I think back to sometimes and I was in like, it didn't clock for a few years and I was like, I'm feeling a certain way at a certain time on a certain substance. And initially it was fine, and it's very easy to blame it on a bit of life stress. I'm on prep, so I'm obviously tired. Obviously I'm narky, or a bit down. So no, it's a good message to. I
think it's one that people don't really. They seem to shrug it off a lot. And again, I'm not trying to like piss anyone off and be like anti-bodybuilding or nothing. I'm not anti-bodybuilding at all. But what I will say is that there's so many ways to skin a cat that if something is making you feel worse,
100%.
that you can get away with not doing that thing and still do very well. You don't have to be scripted to have to do a particular.
Yeah, the basics of kind of hard work and good food cannot be understated.
Yeah.
So there's two things, if I can remember the second one in a minute. the next one really is, you mentioned obviously Annika is very close to having the little one.
Yeah.
How are you feeling now? Like are you scared, excited?
No fear at all. No fear at all.
Okay.
There's zero fear.
That's great.
There's zero fear because I don't. You don't want to be setting yourself up to have fear, because it's easily done. Like, you can think about all the things that could potentially be a problem.
Yeah.
Because obviously having a child, you could be like, oh, they might get ill. I can't really live in that mindset. Yeah. So I'm trying to live again. Like the advice I'm giving myself is live in looking at the good to come.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of wild because I never anticipated having a child. I didn't think it was possible because, listen, I'm a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
I've been doing God knows how many cycles for how many years. Never checked anything on fertility in my life. Yannicka drops the pill, and within a few fucking days, she's up the duff. It's like, it's kind of wild, but then it's kind of a blessing, isn't it? Because I'm like, well, there's a lot of people in the situation who really want children. I got friends in bodybuilding that have been pro bodybuilders that are trying to have kids and struggling. And there's me that managed to have one. So it's obviously a blessing. And I've got a lot of love to give. I know I have. Like, I've got so much love to give. It's going to make me an emotional soft, even worse. I know it is. But then why hold yourself back on how much love you can feel? Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm focusing on, is that there's a capacity in me to love so much. And I think maybe if I can love that much, then that might help a lot of how I feel. Yeah. Because it's the opposite emotion.
Yeah. And I think, like you mentioned, obviously not having a father and not knowing how that feels, you're probably in a position where, you want to be the best.
For sure. What I never want for my daughter, without making this like a parent episode, is her to feel like she's not enough. Yeah. Because that's how I grew up. Right. So I grew up like, I'm not good enough, so you didn't stay around. Yeah. And that is something that, for the rest of time, unless I don't know the answer to get rid of that.
Yeah, that's.
Some people will swear to you that they've done it and they've got rid of it. They could say, I've been to therapy and now I know that I am worthy, I am enough. I don't personally know how to change that, but that's why I do what I do, to try and make myself feel better about who I am, because I like achievements, because achievements are my way. Yeah. So yeah, all I never want to do is make them feel like they're not enough. Yeah. So if I have to be somewhere, I'll be there. No,
I feel like, regardless of your past just the guy and the man you are, is like, I'd want you as my dad. Do you know what I mean? I think it's fucking like,
Should have playing games all day. PS5 and PC be on all day. Nintendo Switch.
From an age one.
Yeah.
So, final thing. Well, not quite the final thing. I've got one question I always ask.
It's all good.
Like you mentioned, the constant noise of social media, of expectation. We've kind of touched upon that anyway, but like one thing that I'm sure a lot of people and myself, it affects everyone, is kind of negative comments, feedback. Like, what's your experience? What's your advice on, or how do you deal with it? Do you deal with it, or do you just kind of fucking ignore it, or just accept it?
I've been good and I've been bad in regards to this whole having the ability to not be affected. There's been times in my life where it's affected me dramatically. Right. And there's been massive stints where it bounces off me like ricochet, like it doesn't even penetrate. And you have to train that and not allow yourself to become prone to being influenced by it. Right. And that is down to us taking control. And if I am affected by things, it is my own fault because I've allowed it to make me feel that way. But then that's when you have to assess the bigger picture. Why is your wall why is your barrier down? Yeah. What in your normal life is making why are you not maybe feeling that confidence? So for me, for example, when a show doesn't go well, for me the barrier's down. Yeah. That's
because it's not going well.
Oh shit. Like, so then obviously I'm more subjective to the influence of the bad. Yeah. So I don't know, like there's no real answer, but just try to have little wins in your day. Like listen, and like these people that are super structured with their day and they feel positive about it, I do get it. Because if you go to bed at night feeling like you've had a day that was productive and that you've managed to achieve something, it will be a lot harder for anyone to get inside your head. Yeah. Because you believe in your successes and you believe in your achievements. So it's down to us to really build that routine of feeling successful. And it doesn't mean you have to make millions. It doesn't mean you have to be rich or the best bodybuilder in the world. It just means that you have to feel like you have a level of control over your life. Yeah. Because control makes you feel successful. When you have no control and if you live very loose and if you don't feel like you have any ability to sustain a level of strategy to who what you are, then it can make it very easy for things to penetrate and cause a negative situation in your mind. So again, like I say,
looking at the root cause,
you have to look also at your environment, because my friend lives on a boat, for example, he's a 50-year-old gentleman, lives on a boat, he doesn't need any routine. Yeah. That's fine. But if you're in the atmosphere of routine being required, where like we are, the bodybuilding scene, then you're best just getting in control of things. Yeah, and if you don't want to be part of it anymore, then go and live on a boat.
There we go.
Yeah.
So final question that I ask all my guests is, what does success mean to you? Completely fucking open-ended.
Success to me is probably referring back to what I said earlier, is the being able to lay in bed at night and not have questions for yourself, basically, like why or how, because if you don't question yourself, then you're doing everything that you feel necessary, I suppose. And it's not bad to have questions. I'm not saying it's negative to have questions for yourself, but just not questions that are basically bringing you down or making you look at yourself like your glass half empty rather than half full. Yeah. We can't all be equivalent success when it comes to a financial standpoint, but that isn't the most important type of success that's in this world, because you can feel very alone by being very rich and you can feel very alone by not being rich. But we're all subject to the same emotions and the same feelings. So I suppose success for me really is just being able to have a good, loving life with people around you that you care about, and being able to go to bed at night thinking, I'm content with the person I am, and I know that I'm just not causing any harm to people, that I'm doing everything the right way, that I'm trying my best to be someone that my children can grow up and look at and be like, I wish to be like them. Because if you can look at your kids in the eye and know that you're setting the best example for them, what else can you really? I suppose what can you really do?
That's a very beautiful answer. Actually, it's one of the best we've had. Sorry. So before we finish off, this is a bit more of a light-hearted. Oh, there it is.
I've got a little notebook here.
A little notebook. So I ask each guest to write a question in for the following guest.
Okay.
So I think this one, the last guest we had was Sarah Bradley. So she asked, if you were to have an actress or actor to play you in a film, who would you pick?
If I had the actor or actress to play
Probably
me in
not
a
an actress,
film.
probably an actor.
No, because you know what, you could do one of them cool concept films that's based on real events but switched slightly.
Yeah.
So it's like almost like Mirror. So you could have a female play you and they pretty much live exactly the same existence. But it's alluded that it's you, but it's also visually to the point where it takes someone with a bit more depth to understand it, which is the kind of movie I would like, because I don't like when things are handed to you on a plate.
Yeah.
I like that when someone can look beyond into the concept and go, you know what, that's the whole point, is that this is representation of that.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind having a female play me, for sure. But I suppose when you choose like actors, like, do you go with just who's your favourite actor? Like, who can act emotion well? Who can convey the highs and the lows the best out of everybody that's on the scene?
I like these questions because there's so much more to it than you actually think. Like,
yeah.
It's easy, isn't it? It's easy on the surface.
You know what? It sounds so basic, but it's got to be Tom Hardy, isn't it?
Tom Hardy. I literally was thinking that.
Shave your head, Tom. Like,
so that, yeah.
Just because, you know, when I watch like Peaky Blinders and I see them scenes of him having a right go at, you know, Thomas Shelby, and he's like, how fucking dare you? Like, I know that man can literally go from the spectrum of feeling the worst to feeling the best, and be able to show it for his eyes, because that man can act with his eyes. When he did the Dark Knight film, I know the voice was cool, but the majority of what he was doing was through here. And yes, it's got to be Tom Hardy.
I like that a lot.
Plus, I think if he shaved his head and if he got on a little cycle, he could probably look
fit in all right.
And he's handsome as well, so.
Oh, mate.
I wish.
Mate, honestly, that was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for
Anytime,
your time,
bro,
man. Thank you for everything.
Obviously, anytime, man.
And
honestly, thank you. Appreciate the time.
In again soon, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. Always welcome.
But, yes, as a wrap up, guys, James has exceeded my expectations in terms of his answers there. I'm a little bit blown away by just the honesty and you know, it's something that is so wonderful about him. So, incredible man, incredible bodybuilder. The Pro Series episode 9 wrapped up. Thank you very much, brother.
Anytime. Peace out, guys. Thank you as well. Appreciate it.